Taylor Swift, American songwriter. She's known for her country and pop. To succeed, she had to break all barriers.
Just like this one.
Barrier number one, industry rejection. Taylor Swift's most significant act of genre blending and reinvention came with the release of her album 1989 in 2014. Prior to this, Swift was primarily known as a country artist, but with 1989, she made a bold, decisive shift to mainstream pop. Unlike the gradual genre evolution seen with many artists, Swift's transition was swift and complete. She almost entirely abandoned the country genre, presenting herself as a fully formed pop star at the height of her creative powers. This move was risky. Swift faced pressure from her label and industry insiders to include country tracks on 1989 to maintain her existing fan base and commercial footing. She refused, believing it would be disingenuous to exploit two genres when your album falls into only one. By insisting on a cohesive pop sound, she asserted her artistic autonomy and challenged the industry's expectations for genre loyalty, especially for female artists who are often pigeonholed. Swift's reinvention was not just musical, but also visual and thematic. The album's production brought back 1980s synth-pop sounds, which were considered outdated by many contemporary producers, and paired them with fresh, modern songwriting. Thematically, 1989 marked a shift from the innocence and heartbreak of her earlier work to a more mature, self-aware perspective embracing complexity, humor, and self-parody in both her lyrics and music videos. This rebranding was reinforced by a strong visual identity and consistent marketing, further distinguishing her new era. How she overcame it. Swift overcame skepticism from her label and the broader industry by sticking to her vision, refusing to dilute her album with country tracks, and collaborating with top pop producers like Max Martin to ensure the new sound was both authentic and high quality. She retained her storytelling prowess, a hallmark of her country roots within her new pop sound, allowing longtime fans to connect with her evolving music while attracting a new, broader audience. In 1989 was a massive success, both critically and commercially, proving that her gamble paid off. It produced multiple chart-topping singles, won Album of the Year at the Grammys, and solidified her place as a dominant force in pop music. Swift addressed public scrutiny and media narratives head-on, using songs like Shake It Off and Blank Space to reclaim her story and poke fun at her own image, demonstrating self-awareness and resilience. Swift's willingness to reinvent herself did not stop with 1989. She continued to experiment with different genres in later albums, such as the indie folk sound of Folklore, further establishing her as an artist unafraid of change and capable of transcending genre boundaries. Barrier number two, lack of artist control. Taylor Swift's genre blending and musical reinvention with 1989 broke industry barriers by challenging expectations, asserting her creative independence, and setting a new standard for artistic evolution in mainstream music. In the music industry, it is common for record labels to own the master recordings of artists' work, leaving musicians without control over their own creations. Taylor Swift encountered this barrier firsthand when, as a teenager, she signed with Big Machine Records and relinquished ownership of her master recordings, a standard but often disadvantageous industry practice. The issue came to a head in 2019 when Big Machine, along with the masters of Swift's first 6 albums, was sold to talent manager Scooter Braun without her consent. This sale meant Swift had no legal authority over the recordings of the songs she wrote and performed, sparking public outcry and highlighting the imbalance of power between artists and labels. How she overcame it. Swift took her dispute public, using her platform to expose the lack of artist control over master recordings and to criticize the opaque, often exploitative nature of music contracts. Her transparency drew widespread attention to the issue, prompting debate among musicians, journalists, and lawmakers about artists' rights, intellectual property, and industry ethics. Unable to regain her original masters, Swift exercised a rarely used contractual right. She began re-recording her first 6 albums as soon as her contract allowed. By releasing these as Taylor's version, she created new master recordings that she fully owns, enabling her to control licensing and commercial use, and effectively devaluing the originals owned by others. This unprecedented move not only allowed Swift to reclaim her artistic legacy, but also demonstrated a powerful legal and business strategy for other artists facing similar situations. Swift's high-profile battle inspired other artists to scrutinize their contracts, advocate for ownership rights, and demand greater transparency and fairer deals from labels. Her case became a central example in discussions about artists' rights and intellectual property, with many industry figures and politicians voicing support for her stance. Major radio networks even began playing her re-recorded versions instead of the originals, amplifying her impact. Swift persisted despite legal, financial, and emotional challenges. She refused offers that would have allowed her to buy back her masters only under restrictive conditions, such as signing an NDA that limited her ability to speak about the dispute. She rejected further deals that would benefit those she viewed as exploiting her work, such as declining to partner with Shamrock Holdings after they purchased her masters from Braun, since Braun would continue to profit. By re-recording her albums, Swift not only regained control but also set a new industry precedent, proving that artists can use contractual and creative strategies to reclaim their work and reshape the power dynamics in the music business. Barrier number 3. Gender barriers. Taylor Swift has faced pervasive sexism and double standards throughout her career. From the outset, she recognized that women in the music industry are held to impossible standards and are often forced to work harder than men to prove their talent and legitimacy. In her own words, Swift has described how female artists must constantly justify their success, with critics questioning whether their achievements are due to their own work or the influence of male collaborators. This scrutiny is rarely applied to male artists. How she overcame it. Rather than remaining silent, Swift has consistently called out gender inequality and misogyny. She has used public platforms, including her Billboard Women in Music Awards speech, to highlight how women are forced to prove themselves in ways men are not, and how their work is often devalued or dismissed. Through songs like The Man, she directly addresses these double standards, using her art to spark conversation and challenge stereotypes. Swift has spoken openly about the toll that industry sexism has taken on her mental health, including struggles with eating disorders and the pressure to conform to unrealistic expectations. Her documentary Miss Americana reveals how she turned criticism and adversity into motivation, using her experiences to connect with and empower other women facing similar challenges. A pivotal moment in her fight against gendered industry power dynamics came with her decision to re-record her early albums after losing ownership of her masters to Scooter Braun. This move was not just about business, it was a bold stand against a system where women are often denied control over their own work. By reclaiming her music, she set a precedent for female autonomy and inspired other artists to negotiate for their rights. She actively supports and mentors emerging female artists, encouraging them to demand fair treatment and ownership of their work. Her actions have helped shift industry norms, making it more acceptable and expected for women to assert themselves and challenge unfair practices. Despite facing backlash, including accusations of playing the victim or too outspoken, Swift has remained steadfast. She has used criticism as fuel to further her advocacy, turning negative narratives into opportunities for education and change. Her resilience and willingness to speak out, even when unpopular, have allowed her to not only survive but thrive, breaking records and redefining what success looks like for women in music. Taylor Swift broke gender barriers by openly confronting sexism, using her platform to advocate for equality, reclaiming control over her work, and empowering other women. She overcame these obstacles through resilient, strategic action and a commitment to challenging the status quo, ultimately paving the way for greater gender equity in the music industry.
Remember to watch all the episodes on this.
I hope to see you again.
And remember, to achieve your goals, you must
Break all barriers.